And good morning everyone, and welcome to this week's Shed Adventures. It's a bit late, it's the Tuesday, and normally I'm working on these over the weekend and publishing these on Sunday. However, at the weekend we were having a genuine shed adventure, and for those viewers or subscribers from the UK, I was cycling around the Isle of Wight with my best friend and my daughter. 65 miles of, actually it was it was more up and down than I'd envisaged. So we certainly had a good workout, and there will be a little shed adventure video coming up in the future on our epic cycle trip round the Isle of Wight. So it's now midweek, and I'm in Shed HQ looking around, going, what's interesting? What can I show people today? So this came up. I think you would have gathered from the introduction and some of the conversations that I've been on a number of expeditions to the Antarctic. I've been actually involved in 3. I went on the Brabant Island Joint Service Expedition in 1983-84, and the Smith Island Expedition, the 94-95 one, and the 1990-91. I was due to go, and then the first Gulf War got in the way, which is a whole nother conversation. So involved in 3, and been on 2. This one in the middle was 12 months pretty much on the island, a little bit shorter than 12 months, but we're travelling to and fro. We were probably away from the UK quite close to about 18 months, I would think. So why is this of interest? Well, if I can show you this, and I'll be interested, well, I may not open the comments because probably not for children, this video, and it might be a little controversial. I have this on the floor as a beautiful floor covering or wall covering. Sometimes it hangs on the wall. I don't really know if you can just see the shine and the beautiful silvery fur here. So what is it? Well, it's a crab-eater seal skin. And I think you might just be able to start seeing the sort of scale of this. It is probably taller than me, and is absolutely beautiful. Has some interesting marks. You can see it had an interesting life here. I'm looking at that and thinking that's a bite from a leopard seal. I would think, looking at the size of the scars. Up here is its neck, would have been up there where my fingers are, and you can see the holes here and here where its flippers would have gone, and flippers at the bottom. So what am I doing? What am I doing with it, and how did it get here? Well, I have to say I shot it. Not out of fun. This was part of the science for this expedition. There was a number of studies going on, and what was unusual about our expedition was that we were there during the winter. So the British Antarctic Survey, which normally carries out all the scientific work in the Antarctic, they shut their bases and they just go down to admin staff during the winter. And what they wanted to research was the damage, and this is going back to the 80s, the damage that the Russian krill fishing fleet, try saying that, was doing to the ecosystem in the Antarctic. So let me explain. The bottom of the ecosystem in the Antarctic is krill. It's a small shrimp. Nearly everything starts by eating that, and then of course it ends up with humpback whales and killer whales and seals and penguins. But that is the basic building block of the life cycle down there. Everything eats krill, or the smaller animals eat krill, and the bigger animals eat the smaller animals, etc., etc. And what were the Russians doing? Well, they were sending down vast factory ships, and they were scooping millions of tons of krill out of the ocean and turning it into simple cattle food, bringing it back to Russia, and farming, intensive farming cattle, and feeding them on this krill. And they wanted to know what damage that was doing. And to do that, they needed to know how much krill is in the ocean, which they were working out, and how much krill was being consumed by all the various animals down there, one of them being seals, and particularly the crab-eater seal, which feeds almost exclusively, not on, well, it does eat crabs, but on krill. So they wanted, in the winter, when they couldn't do the survey, for us to shoot a number of seals. We didn't shoot a number, we shot one in the end, and to bring back its stomach content so they could study its stomach content. So we had to bring back its stomach in formaldehyde to preserve it in a special plastic bucket. And I was trained in all of this. I had to be licensed. I had to obviously have a gun license. I was clearly in the military, so I knew how to use a rifle. And I had to be trained exactly how to shoot in exactly the right spot and humanely put a seal, kill a seal. And then how to gut it properly, bring back its stomach. Another organisation found out we were doing this, and they were studying parasites, and they wanted us to bring back its intestines. So we then had to extract its intestines, put them in another bottle of formaldehyde and bring those back, and they formed part of a study. And then another organisation, as these conversations go round in the scientific world in England, Scottish Museum said we would love to have a complete seal skeleton in Scotland for the Scottish Museum. Could you bring one back? So we said yes, we're killing seals. So in the end we just shot the one. Stomach contents, intestines went to British Antarctic Survey. Its entire skeleton went to a Scottish Museum. So we were left with two things on the island. We were left with a lot of seal meat. Well, we were living off tinned or dried rations for 12 months. So we completely butchered the carcass and buried most of the carcass in a glacier for the winter, where it froze solid, our instant freezer. And we fed off a few hundred pounds of seal meat during the winter, which was really saved our bacon, to be honest. And the other thing we were left with was a seal skin. So on the beach was this beautiful seal skin, which I'd carefully taken off. And what to do with it? Well, I didn't really know, to be honest. So I can show you a picture. There's a picture of, I think you can see that. There's a picture of me. It shrunk somewhat, the seal skin, as it dried, dragging this seal skin up from the beach with no real idea what I was then going to do with it. So I thought, well, I'll preserve it and I'll dry it. This is in the middle of an Antarctic winter, so how do you do that? And my mind, it worked out very well, as you can see. It's lovely and preserved. But my mind went back to old TV films and movies, and I remember seeing Indians on the Great Plains with buffalo strung out on frames. I'm assuming to dry and to be preserved. So I made a framework of 4 big skis, wooden skis that weren't going to be used during the winter. And you can see, maybe you can see the tiny little holes all round here where I strung this out on this square frame. And then on the back, not very pretty, I scraped every day when I had a spare 10 minutes or I was passing this. I would scrape away the meat, or gristle at this stage, and then I would rub salt in it. So the army rations that we had huge amounts of salt, which you really didn't need. These big blue, anyone in the army will remember the 10-man compo ration with the huge pot of salt in it, blue pot of salt. We had a black bin bag full of salt, and I just rubbed this all over the back. Anytime I had a salt container, instead of putting it in the bin bag for disposal later, I poured it over the back and rubbed it in. And as you can see, although it's not very bendable, it preserved it, and it hung on the side of a rock face all during the winter and the following summer, sun, wind, and everything. And well, there is no smell to it. And I rolled it up, came back. I had a license to import it because you can't import bits of seal. And it came back, and it's been it's been almost part of my life and something I've treasured, because yeah, it was alive, it was an animal, it was killed for science, but even so, I'm glad that all its parts went somewhere, you know, and nothing was wasted, and I have him here to this day. So this is the story of why in Shed HQ we have a giant seal skin on the wall, or I sometimes, if I'm in bare feet, I put it on the floor and put my feet on it, because it's absolutely lovely. There's a further picture of us on the sea, cutting him up and preserving all the bits and pieces for the science we were doing. So what was going on in these various expeditions? Well, this one was a climbing and a scientific expedition. The other two expeditions to a place called Smith Island, I only went on one of the two. They were pure climbing expeditions. So Brabant Island had never been explored. You can see it on the map if you look at the Antarctic Peninsula, and we were there for over 12 months. And Smith Island, a few landings had been there. There was a very couple of famous sailors stroke explorers that either got there or were trying to go there. A gentleman called Bill Tillman, Major Bill Tillman. He's very famous if you're into sailing and mountaineering, and he was lost with his best friend Simon Richardson. They put an expedition together to go there, and they left Montevideo, I think, and nothing was heard of them again. And on the island, we couldn't find any trace of them. So Bill Tillman is a bit of a hero of mine. So 2 expeditions, involved in 3, and in 1993, because of what we did and the unusual nature of these expeditions, we canoed, we boated, we survived a winter, dark winter in tents. I had the honour in the 93 New Year's Honours List to be awarded that by the Queen, and you won't know what that is because they're not that common. That's the Polar Medal. So that's the same medal issued to Captain Scott, issued to Shackleton, to Ernest Shackleton, 2 of my heroes, and I think Ranulph Fiennes actually has one, a more modern one. So not easy to win or be given, so I'm extremely proud of that. I can't show you the medal because it's quite rare, and the Army Museum asked when I retired from the Army many years ago, could they have my medal collection, because they haven't got a polar medal in the collection. So my medals are on display in a museum, so I can go and see them whenever I want, and they're safely there. So very proud of being issued that. So there we go. A fairly short episode of why, with all the strange items in Shed Adventure HQ, we have this beautiful sealskin. Another story of past adventures. I hope you found that interesting. I hope no one is upset by it. You can see that I'm sort of quite emotional about it, but it was a very justified scientific requirement, and luckily enough we only had one, so there we go. I hope you enjoyed this short update, and I hope you found it interesting. If you've got any questions about the Antarctic and some of the stuff we did down there, drop me a line, and I'll happily talk about it until I bore you to death. Please like and subscribe, because that really helps the channel, and we'll see you very soon for another Shed Adventure. Thank you, everyone. Bye bye.